Hey everybody, what's up? I want to give you a brief overview of the three types of testing that we have coming up on Sunday. So I'll try to make this quick and to the point. Number one is lactate. We have you go increase your intensity in short increments, anywhere from 15, 20 to 30 watts at a time. You continue to increase until you get to about a level 9 out of 10 on a perceived exertion level. And then we sample your blood lactate at all of those intensities. It's a continuous test, so while you're riding, we're taking samples. That's the lactate test. That tells me a lot about where you're producing more lactate than is desirable. For some people, it means that I ask you to hold back a little bit more on some of your easy stuff, and then for some of you, it's going to mean that you're going to see an increased amount of short, high-intensity intervals, and then and for some of you, it just kind of gives us a benchmark of where you are in the process of your buildup, and then we can modify. Keep in mind, training your lactate curve changes significantly throughout the season, as it should. So this is kind of a baseline, and this is one of the reasons why I typically recommend this as your first test, because it's a good baseline, a good starting point, because as we get closer to race day, things should change. The next test is your carb and fat combustion. And so what this tells us is it lets us know precisely how much fat and carbs, the percentages of fat and carbs that you're burning at various intensities. This is a submaximal test, so it's not an incredibly difficult test. It's actually the most comfortable test. I like to do this one. And what it tells us is not only the percentages, but also the caloric amount. Why this is important is because at some point in your intensity, you start crossing over to burn a higher percentage of carbs for your fuel, and your fat combustion goes down. And we don't want to spend a lot of time training above this. Yes, your intervals will be well above this, as they should, but it really helps us to identify your fat max. So the range of watts that you typically burn the highest percentage of fat. Now, with this test, there does have to be some recovery coming into the test, more so than the lactate. And so I would just need to modify and adjust your training a couple of days leading into the test. And then finally is the traditional VO2 max test. And with this test, it's basically a start from really easy intensity, and we just continue to increase the intensity as time goes on, and you continue to go until you feel like you can't go anymore, until your legs are pretty much exhausted. And this tells us your top end VO2, your peak VO2, which is important, but also it's important to know kind of where this power is coming from. So that's where lactate comes into play, and so each test serves a different purpose. And then just to complicate things more, as we get closer to race day, there's a fueling test. So rather than have incremental steps increases, what we're going to do is have you ride at a set wattage. So let's say you plan on racing at 185 watts. We'll have you ride at 160, 185, and then 200 watts to see the fuel demand at those intensities, so we can match a fueling plan with your output. Now, we're not doing that test just yet because we're not close enough to race day for anybody this season, but that's what's going to be the recommended test as we get closer to race day. All right, so those are the tests that we're offering. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be more than happy to explain those to you and give you my take on which one I think might be best for you. Okay, have a good one.